What's going on, everybody? Today we're doing a charging system inspection on my 2015 Yamaha FJ09. Now, the charging system should be very similar for FZ09, MT09, and XSR bikes of the same generation. If you got a dead battery or a bike that just seems to eat batteries, this video is for you. Let's get right into it. For this video, we'll be following the Yamaha service manual. The first thing you want to check is your fuses. It's simple, but it's easy. There's one set of fuses underneath your seat. You just get your seats off, and then it's right next to your battery. But if that doesn't solve your problem, you've also got fuses behind the side panel here. The triangular plastic hides the stuff behind here. It's just 3 4mm Allens that hold it on and then pull away and slide down. And then you'll reveal these two boxes. I've got them open here. Now, to check your fuses, you want to set your multimeter to continuity mode or a low resistance mode. Most multimeters have a beep mode, but when you touch the leads, they beep. You will register a level of resistance on the screen. If you have a blown fuse, you'll get no resistance or open loop like we're seeing right now. So when you touch your tips across the silver dots here, you hear it beep or you see a number register on the screen that tells you you have some level of resistance, which means you have a good fuse. If you have an open loop, that means you have a blown fuse and it's disconnected. Check the fuses on the side of the bike as well. But the next step for us to check is the battery, and it's right here. Now, to check the battery, the manual specifies that you should disconnect the battery from the bike, which is, typical manual things, but it's not always necessary, but I'll do it just for you. Now, I got a little bit of a surprise when I saw this. My battery sitting at 12.33 fully disconnected, because the bike runs and drives just totally fine. It starts no problem. But normally, if I saw this on any other bike, I would replace it. The rule of thumb is general that anything under 12.6 is a problem, as in the battery's health is diminished. So in this case, I should probably replace this battery, but I'm not having any charging issues, so I'm just going to keep riding it. So the next thing to check is the stator for resistance on the 3 leads coming out of it. Now, the wires that come out of the stator are on this bundle here. They go up under in this plastic. They follow next to the battery tray along here, and it'll be tough to see. It's tough to see, but it's those 3 wires right there that plug into the rectifier regulator. Now, under the tail of the bike here, you can see this little rectangle, and the rectifier is right over here. So I've been taking out the push pins so I can take out this panel, and hopefully it reveals the connection point we're looking for, because it's very difficult to get from the top. Okay, so this trap door here does lead to the stator connection and rectifier. We're going for this white connection right up here in the top left. It's incredibly hard to film and let alone do, because this trap door doesn't seem to want to come out even though it's disconnected on the other side there. So I'm just going to get it out. Basically just finesse it out. I'm trying to feel what I can feel on the top. Cannot get a good angle on the dangle here. Okay, I can confirm this is the stator plug. Now you're supposed to measure each pair of this 3-pin connector. So that means outside to outside, left to middle, right to middle. Those are your 3 combos. They should all measure between this spec on the screen right here. And if they don't, you've got a problem, either with your stator or with your multimeter. But let's talk about that. So with the spec being so low, being between 0.152 to 0.228 ohms, which is really low, like even 1 ohm is low, you have to ensure that your machine isn't adding resistance. So on this Victor machine, this one I use regularly, the VC890C+, when I connect my 2 leads, it eventually reads pure 0. Like there is no extra resistance factored in, because this machine knows how much resistance are in the leads, and therefore it can eliminate that and show you a true accurate value. Now this other multimeter, also by Victor, just a lower spec model, a cheaper multimeter, when you connect the leads, it will eventually read a number close to 0, but not quite 0. Like here, right, we're getting as low as 0.5 of an ohm. So that's basically telling you that in these leads here, there's 0.5, 0.6 of an ohm of resistance. So that means the number you get from the service manual, when you measure, you will have to add whatever number you read on the screen. In this case, it's 0.5 to 0.6. So you don't wrongly come to the conclusion that your stator is way out of spec. I've made this mistake before. I don't want you to make this mistake. Check your multimeter. Make sure it actually reads 0 before you go ahead and assume that the spec is exactly what you should see on the multimeter. The next test that you can do on the Stator measures its AC output, basically the wave of electricity it creates before it goes into the regulator, not just the resistance across the coils like we previously did, but the AC voltage it produces. So you start the engine, let it run at around 5,000 RPM, and you test it and connect it in the same way we did to measure the resistance, except for this time you set your multimeter to measure AC 20 volts or less. You should be able to see AC voltage under 20 volts on all 3 pins when you pair them separately, so the 3 separate pairings as described here. Now, what could happen is that you have one burnt out coil and you'll get a bad signal when trying to read the AC voltage across the 3 separate pairings. So be mindful of that. The manual doesn't outline what you should see for AC voltage. It's going to be more than 15 though. The final test for the rectifier and regulator, which is the thing with the cooling fins on it right here under the tail of the bike, is to run the bike at 5,000 RPM and see that you're getting between 14.3 and 14.7 volts charging at the battery. Obviously my battery is missing here, but you get the point. If you're seeing a low voltage like below 14, that means that either you've got a battery that's sucking up a lot of current and needing a strong charge because something drained it, like a parasitic loss, or you've got a bad battery and the charging system is working double time to fill it up. Or you've got a bad rectifier and regulator. A rectifier regulator can fail in multiple different ways. Sometimes it fails in such a way that it isn't rectifying the voltage, so you're getting an AC signal coming out of it. Other times the regulator fails and it just jacks up the voltage to like 16, 17, 18 volts DC coming out and it'll fry your battery. So all of those things are bad. Make sure you check your voltage at your battery to ensure your regulator rectifier is doing its job. The last thing to check after you've gone through all of this flow chart is to check your entire charging system's wiring. Basically, get out your multimeter and make sure that you have a connection between the real wires. So from one end to the other, do you have continuity? It's possible that a wire has rubbed on the frame and corroded and is causing an intermittent ground, which is causing your charging problem. And that's the kind of thing you're going to look at in this step, because if all these components measure and spec out just fine, you've got a wiring problem. And if your wires are fine, then your charging system's okay. And if you still got a problem, well, there's a ghost and your bike's haunted. You should probably just sell it. Get it? Nice. And that's a wrap, inspecting the charging system on my 2015 Yamaha FJ09. If you have any questions, drop a comment down below. I do my best to answer them all. And as usual, the specs will all be in the description down below. If this helped you out, please smash the like and subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a good day.